Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Burkle. Host today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say hi, guys.
Hi.
Alright, in this video, we'll be doing another edition of our weekly winners and losers. This week, looking back at Week 10 slate of games. If you haven't seen one of these videos before, we'll be going around, each giving a winner or a loser, depending on how they performed this past week, why we think they're a winner or a loser, and we'll just keep going around and around until we eventually run out of people to talk about.
And if you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think.
But let's go ahead and get started with the video. So with my first winner of the week, I've got Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. Going into this game, I had predicted that the Cardinals were going to win, but I thought it would be more so on the ground, where they did most of their damage. That was basically the complete opposite of the case this past week, as the Jets stifled the run basically all game, holding James Conner to less than 3 yards a carry. He did get one touchdown, but wasn't getting much going on the ground between the 20s. But Kyler Murray took it upon himself to step up, led the Cardinals to an emphatic win. Completed 22 of his 24 passes for 266 yards and a touchdown. Also ran 2 more in himself. And then I think the kicker made a field goal at some point, which is how they got up to 31 points. But just absolutely mollywhopping the New York Jets this past week. Really kind of inserting themselves as a legitimate threat over there in the NFC. These past few weeks kind of been wondering if this is actually like the legit Arizona Cardinals we've been seeing, as they rattled off 3 straight going into this one. But after picking up this victory against a pretty good Jets defense, I'd say that they at least look like a legitimate threat over there in that conference. So, yeah, Kyler Murray really starting to shape out into form at the second half of the season.
Yeah, I had the Cardinals as winners as well for similar reasons. I will say that I kind of have them in the tier of the Rams. You know, 2 teams that you never quite know which team is exactly going to show up on the game day, but when they show up and they're good, they can really be a threat to make the playoffs here. But I'll go ahead and throw out something maybe a little bit contrary to Joe's beliefs. I've got the Steelers as winners this week. Get a big win and stay in what I believe they're still in contention for the number 1 overall seed. Just 2 games back from the Chiefs, both of them in the Bills. So they meet up head to head later on, and with the way the Chiefs have been playing, that bunch of close games, they could easily drop 1 or 2 here. So things are going to get interesting for this AFC number 1 seed race.
Yeah, I mean,
So I don't.
we
It was
we
a
have
good win.
we have some voodoo on our side.
I'm not taking away. I mean, I have the Steelers and Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson as winners this week as well. I'm gonna take it. We can still be a little bit better. That's all I'm trying to say. With that being said, my first winner is actually gonna be the Vikings front office. Sam Darnold, they're 7-2. I mean, they're still outperforming what people I think would have expected out of this team. Darnold having 5 picks the last 2 games, 6 in the last 4. I mean, they kind of, after this last game, it kind of just seemed they've just been fortunate to play the Jaguars this week and the Colts the week before. So, I mean, against lesser opponents, they've been able to overcome it. So you can kind of look at that as a good thing, maybe. That defense is still holding it down for them. Could just be a couple rough games. It's a long season, but drafting J.J. McCarthy doesn't look too bad, though, if you just only watch the last 2-3 games that they performed. Now you look like, I mean, he can learn some stuff from Darnold. Darnold's got some left in the tank, that's for sure. But maybe as we reached the peak already, or are we at where we're at, or I don't know. Nonetheless, they're winners because they have a successful team and they drafted a quarterback that looks like that they might need to upgrade at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I think these past few weeks we've seen what that ceiling of Sam Darnold looks like a little bit. Got off to a hot start, obviously, but kind of came back down to earth recently. I think J.J. McCarthy is probably as comfortable as he's been all year as far as his outlook for next season goes. Because I think the further the season goes along, the more it looks like Sam Darnold's not like a actual, long-term answer at quarterback, at least for the Vikings, when you have J.J. McCarthy waiting in the wings. So totally agree with you that it's looking like that may.
He only signed a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm sure. Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
You're getting exactly. Honestly, for the Vikings, you're in a very win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you never want JJ to hurt, but you got Darnold on a 1 year. He's got your team in a playoff hunt right now. They're looking good, playing as good as they've been the past few years. So I mean, if you get to the playoffs out of it, and somehow you drafted your franchise quarterback in McCarthy, they could look like some geniuses right there.
For sure. My first loser of the week, man, Kirk Cousins. After being a, repeated winner in this video series so far this season, came up short this past week against the division rival Saints. Game that they should have easily won with the Saints' track record this season, having only won 2 games up to that point. But dropped it 20-17, failing to throw for a single touchdown in the whole game. Granted, I guess the Saints defense is oddly good at preventing quarterbacks from throwing touchdowns against them, as they've let up the 4th least amount of touchdown passes, despite giving up the 3rd most passing yards. So not sure how those correlate together, but yeah. Didn't throw for any touchdowns, threw for a lot of yards, didn't end up really amounting to much. Bijan Robinson did most of the damage on the ground for them. A win would have all but locked up the division for Atlanta. Had they come out with that W, with Tampa Bay losing to the Niners, would have taken a 3-game lead over them in the division, as well as having the tiebreaker already locked up. So what would have essentially been a 4-game lead with only 7 games left to play. Hard to imagine they would have lost their grip on the division lead there. Still in the driver's seat, obviously, but probably cost them any outside chance they had at fighting for that number 1 seed in the conference, I think, with the Lions. Lions looking a little shaky these last 2 weeks. Could possibly drop a couple games. Had the Falcons came out with a W here, they'd only be 2 games back. But instead, they're sitting 3. So, it's a tough week for Kirk and the Falcons.
I've got the Ravens defense as losers this week. Now, I will say Bengals, good offense. Really good offense. I think we could all agree. But this has kind of been the story all season for them. Let up a bunch of pass yards. One of the worst pass defenses in the league so far this season. And none of their real acquisitions have really helped that as of yet. But, everybody's crowning them, saying they're the best team in the division. If them and the Chiefs played today, they'd beat the Chiefs. They've got 7 one-score wins. That's the same amount as the Chiefs. They do it a little bit differently. They do it, scoring a lot of points. The Chiefs, more defensive team. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to, throw out that comparison, especially when the Chiefs beat them early on in the season. So I think they've got a lot of concerns on that defensive side of the ball to address before they're crowned AFC champions.
Yeah, I feel like it looks worse and worse as the season goes. Like you feel a little less confident in that defense as the weeks go.
Yeah, I'm here for it. This week would be an amazing time to not take a step still. Just delay it another few weeks. Just 2 of the next 3, and we'll be all right. My first loser of the week. I don't have a lot of losers. This one is Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. I mean, there's reports I saw that this week that the Giants are questioning on who to start this week. All options are open. They're not committing to Daniel Jones, and I mean, I don't necessarily blame them.
Horse cock lock.
I don't blame them for it, but I mean, you dropped $40 million, and then your argument was to keep the quarterback over the offense or the best offensive player you had, arguably best player you had in Saquon Barkley, go to not only any other team, but ended up going in division to your biggest rival. So I mean, yeah, just Daniel Jones. That's tough, man. I mean, he's in New York. You're always gonna get it. You're always gonna get the attention, but the team, they're just not good. He hasn't won. Name of the game is winning, and he doesn't do enough of that. That's all.
Yeah, before getting to my next winner, I'll just piggyback off that because I had that as my favorite loser of the week. I put everybody employed by or associated with the New York Giants football franchise. The Panthers, not a good passing defense specifically. They allow the 6th most passing yards, 5th most passing touchdowns, and they grab the 7th least amount of picks out of any team in the NFL. Somehow the Giants managed to turn the ball over 4 times, and Daniel Jones threw for less than 200 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 picks himself. So, just absolutely horrendous display. Going into the game, the Panthers had 7 turnovers or takeaways all year. The Giants gave them 4 more. So they are officially responsible for over a third of the Carolina Panthers takeaways, all by themselves. Congrats, New York. But anyways.
If I can piggyback off that real quick. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Well, mine was just going to be at the same time, just in the moment, Daniel Jones is a loser, but the man and his agent negotiated an amazing contract. The man's going to be the highest paid backup or free agent in NFL history in the next couple of years. So, good for him in that aspect. At least he secured it when he needed it most. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I had, as losers this week, fans at the Germany game.
Yeah.
You would think that you're trying to grow the game. You'd want these abroad games to be matchups that mean something, some good teams. What did Germany do to deserve Giants Panthers?
I mean,
what did they do this decade to deserve? Yeah, that's just. I mean, sure, it was a close game, but the only thing that was at stake was the number 1 overall pick for this game. So, not. I think a little bit of a scheduling blunder, if you ask me.
Well, yeah, and just to kind of go off that number 1 pick thing, that's not even a guarantee because there's 10 other 2 or 3 win teams right now. So, yeah, that number 1 overall pick's all up for grabs.
Down to the wire, fellas.
Yeah. A whole third of the league can still get the number 1 overall pick.
Bottom.
Yeah.
This
is that's insane.
So much more exciting than the NBA lottery.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're not wrong. This is so fun to watch. But to get back out of the pool of mediocrity and negativity we've been swimming in for the last 5 minutes. My next winner, Jim Harbaugh. On his first season as the Chargers head coach, after a complete overhaul of the offensive side of the football this offseason, outside of, the most important position, quarterback, of course, Harbaugh's put his team in excellent position to make a late season push into the playoffs, be a top wildcard team, maybe even steal the AFC West from the Chiefs. That's kind of a tall order as they're 3 games back, having already lost a game to them. But, yeah, should be well on their way to clinching a 5 or 6 seed. I think they've got as just as good a chance as any team outside the AFC North of locking up that top wild card spot. It's probably going to be between them and whoever loses the division between the Ravens and the Steelers for 5th, and the other's going to be 6th. So, shout out Jim Harbaugh, really turned that franchise around over there. I mean, we all kind of knew it was a coaching problem, but to kind of see it come to fruition in his first season's been nice to see. So, congrats to the Chargers.
Well, hold on. Just not having any receivers. Sorry. For them not making any moves at receiver and showing how successful they've been, prove that whatever he's done to change it is working at the very minimum with less talented players.
Yeah.
It's to be one of those places that in the offseason might attract a couple free agents or big name guys that want to come there.
Because, I mean, they're worse at running back. They're worse at receiver. You could argue some spots on the line they might be worse at, but I think for the most part, when they're healthy, their offensive line's a little bit better. But,
pretty solid at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an impressive job by him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one might be a little controversial, but I've got Baker Mayfield as a winner. He's playing his damn heart out, and it's just heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss. Loses his top two receivers in the same game, and they're not really weren't really in a position to go get somebody before the deadline to sort of help bolster this team. So it feels like they might just sort of slip out of relevance as this season goes on, as it pertains to the playoff race. But Baker's found his home, and he's trying his best to limp this team in.
Yeah, if they were in the AFC, they'd have a shot at the playoffs. But there's just too many good teams over there in the NFC right now.
He looks like they remind me of like what the Rams looked like with what Stafford looked like. I meant without like up in Nakua. It's kind of what CJ Stroud might be starting to go through, maybe with no Diggs, no Nico Collins. Like, yes, I mean it just shows you how much they really try, but damn. Can't catch a break though with either of them.
Almost undefeated without his top two receivers.
Huh?
What?
Did he say Mahomes?
He said Mahomes is undefeated without his top two receivers.
Mahomes has never had that, so what does it matter? I don't know if you guys consider to have two top receivers. I think you guys just have two guys out there.
No, like our top two receivers though. Rice and Hollywood Brown.
Rice.
Yeah, never got to touch the field.
Yeah, so you can't call him one. I forgot you guys had his ass too.
Right? Yeah, I forget we have Hollywood Brown all the time.
Yeah. That's crazy. So we'll just keep it there. One of my winners. Yes, it's the Chiefs, but I specifically want to show a little love to Andy Reid. Yes, he's the face of the Chiefs. You see him in the commercials, but like when you talk to most people, they're thinking more Mahomes, right? Mahomes is the real face, and Kelsey. But I mean, being a Pittsburgh fan and being a huge fan of Mike Tomlin and how he's managed teams, like Andy Reid has done nothing but manage this team with and without superstars now. Like he had Tyreek and Kelsey and Mahomes playing at the 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, just lighting up the league, setting new records, all this and that. And then he's had all these injuries. You have guys who you're supposed to be are your big playmakers. Rice go out. You're supposed to have Hollywood, who was probably an underrated signing had he been healthy, in my opinion. Like I thought it was a good move. And then no D-Hop, like not even D-Hop yet, still managed to be undefeated. Then go get D-Hop because the rest of the league is stupid. I guess the Titans are the only team that didn't think about not trading, an all-pro caliber receiver to them. But all that to be said, you get D-Hop. There's pulling out wins on Mahomes' best days, on his worst days. Like the defense is showing up. He's got it rolling enough. You got to give him credit for keeping your guys' ship going. And still, at the end of the day, it's about winning. And not only are you back-to-back champs, but you guys are undefeated still. And even if the games are ugly and not like you guys want them to be, I'm sure it gives you a couple heart attacks a game. But nonetheless, the guys you guys are pulling him out, and he's not flinching, it seems like, one bit.
Yeah, and shout out Leo Chanel with the just incredible game-saving block field goal there. He's had an incredible season all year long, ever dating back to the Super Bowl, really, whenever he kind of finally came on and gotten some serious, meaningful reps there in the playoffs. He's been a great addition to the team since last year.
It's the voodoo and the Taylor Swift dark magic that's...
Hey, yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that it's like Satan, black magic, and stuff like that. I just want to say that the gateway to hell is the Denver airport, so maybe we're combating the evil spirits there, okay? Maybe it's more we're the angels, they're the demons. Yeah, exactly. My last loser, man, Caleb Williams, the guy I thought was going to win Rookie of the Year this season. Probably not. He's not going to win it, guys. I think that's safe to say at this point. This past week, having only scored 3 points, that's got to sting for any quarterback, especially when you get sacked a quarter of the dropbacks that you take, getting sacked a whopping 9 times. Yet another stinker for the number 1 overall pick as he struggles to find his footing at the NFL level. Save a couple games around the quarter point of the season whenever he actually strung together a few decent outings. But as of right now, he sits 23rd in the NFL in passing yards, 23rd in passing touchdowns, 32nd in completion percentage, still ahead of Bryce Young, but just barely. And has most sacks by any quarterback by I think 4. Separates him and the second most sacked guy. So just getting beat up behind the line of scrimmage, large part probably because he's holding on to the ball a little bit too long. I think he's a little bit hesitant at this point of the year. But yeah, it just really stinks for a rookie that was kind of, maybe the offensive line wasn't the greatest, but he was kind of gift-wrapped a really good receiving core. Granted, it's been through some injuries a little bit this season, but really good receiving core nonetheless. You got a decent running game back there, and he just can't seem to put it together right now. I'm not ready to sell all my Caleb Williams stock, but as far as this season goes, I think it's kind of a wash, and just kind of back to the drawing board here this second half of the season. He can put together some good games, get some momentum going to next year, but yeah, I think Rookie of the Year is basically cooked.
I will refute this one. I will. Because I have him as a loser, but it's not because of him, it's because of his organization. I think the Bears in general are just losers because he's a rookie. It's not like he's a vet that went there and just completely collapsed. This is his first year.
Right.
So
no.
They're the ones ruining him and, not coaching him up right. You are 100% right where he's hesitant, and it seems like they've coached all of the good things out of him. I've seen breakdowns of their passing concepts and schemes, and you've got like 4 receivers running to the same area, and it doesn't make sense. And it's not because the receivers aren't good, because obviously Odunze, Allen, and Moore, they're all very competent receivers, so they know what they're doing. But I think a large part of the blame goes on the organization itself, and I guess we'll just have to see how if things improve at all under a new OC.
Yeah, I was about to say they just fired their OC today, right?
Yeah.
They fired. I saw something today that I'm not gonna say it word for word because I don't remember it exactly, but it was like in the past 2 or 3 years, some insane amount of coaches have been fired throughout the Bears organization, and the one constant, or one of the few constants, is their O-line coach.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been one of the worst O-lines for the last 3 years.
It's like 14 coaches that have been fired from there. It's a lot.
It was like 14 or 15 under Eberflus alone, I think, have been fired in the last 2 seasons.
Let's think. What's the common denominator here, guys?
Is the O-line coach is by far the worst thing they have on offense. Man, it's crazy. Some Bears fans on Twitter saying he's got to have some crazy blackmail to still be on those staff. They let the OC go, but. Oh, sheesh. I'll finish off. I have 2 winners. I'll start with Mike Williams. Hey, man, welcome to Pittsburgh. That's kind of cool. Not even out there playing much. Not expected to. You just got on the team. But nonetheless, they want you to be a big play receiver. And why not go catch the game-winning touchdown on a deep ball, which is the way the play happened, it was cool because it was that's what you want from Mike Williams. That's what we're hoping we get. But at the same time, that's we have George Pickens too. But hey, if it works both ways, who cares? Just for him, getting kind of chased out of New York the way it happened, and then they traded for other people. So just good for him. Welcome, and then get a win because he's on a much better team than he was in New York. So good for him. And then my last winner is the Detroit Lions. Just despite Goff's 5 picks, and it's not just the one game. Goff hasn't This season, he has 14 turnovers. He has 9 picks. Granted, 5 were just I think 5 of the 9 were just yesterday. But not 4 picks, 4 fumbles outside of that one game. I mean, not horrible, not great, but I mean, like just the last 2 games, he's been hasn't looked like what it did a little earlier in the year. Despite that, they're pulling off the wins without Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, they got the win last night without Darius Smith. So, I mean, giving him another week to get in there, it wouldn't shock me to see him. Like, that's only going to make him better. So, still looking like the best team in the NFC. I don't think you can really argue that. They're just playing on a different level.
Yeah, when your quarterback can throw 5 picks and you still beat a playoff team, I guess it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Got any others, Aaron? Or
Yeah, I mean, I had the Lions as winners as well, and Burke and I were talking a little bit before we started, and I said he's like Goff is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You never know if he's going to throw for 80% completion and 3 touchdowns, or he's going to throw 3 picks and for 40% completion. So he's can be a bit of a wild card, and I think that doesn't necessarily bode well for the Lions, but they've got the one thing's for sure is they got a good team around him. But I think I've got 2 more, both losers. Bengals fall 1 game closer to playoff elimination despite a stellar offensive performance. They've essentially got to win out to be in contention. They're probably looking at being around 9 or 10 wins to make the wild card. So
I don't know. I'm starting to think that 7 seed's going to be like fucking 7 and 10.
maybe, but man, they're not making it easy on themselves. That's for sure. Then I got Jerry Jones as a loser. Imagine about putting up a curtain in his stadium. I mean, I get it. It's an indoor stadium.
You want to break it down and build a brand new stadium? Is that really what you want to do?
I mean, I get it. It's an indoor stadium, but it's football. The sun gets in your eyes, you know. Can we maybe relate?
All I'm gonna say is the sun was here a long time before us, and is going to be here a long time after. I don't think the path is gonna change that much. I think
the sun's been there for 8 million years. It'll be there for 8 million more.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Well, I think on that play, it looked more to me like he thought Ferguson was going for the ball, and so that's more so why he gave up on it. Not that he lost in the sun. It probably is that he lost in the sun, but it is kind of crazy. Like, the ball does kind of go right by Ferguson's head before it even gets to CeeDee Lamb. So I also thought maybe he was confused as to who the ball was intended for. So, just my 2 cents.
I mean, do we want to throw out the people that think Mahomes was trying to get the refs to tell him when defenders were close to him?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
I mean, think a little bit. What penalty got called on that play?
Yeah, illegal formation, right?
Illegal formation, yeah, because Taylor was lined up in the backfield.
Yeah, can you give us a...
Maybe, just maybe he was asking the ref to say, hey, can you, like, let me know so I can tell him to scoot up a little bit.
Yeah, because that's what it was. But Trent Green had to go and put his foot in his mouth and make it seem...
Honestly, he could ask that if he wants. People would need to be more upset with a ref going with it. It would be the problem. You can ask all you want. You can argue the penalty. You can do that, but as long as the refs aren't making the call, I don't care. He can say what he wants.
Yeah. Well, unless y'all got anything else, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Zuckerberg-Merkel, here with the ghost today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say bye, guys.
Bye.
Please make sure to like and subscribe if you made it this far into the video. Let us know down below what you think about Patrick Mahomes asking the refs to let him know when the defenders get close. Fair game? Most importantly, deuces. And have a good day.